Today I'm going to show you how I made a Sapele and Walnut end grain cutting board. The first thing that I do is take the rough boards, cut them in half so they're more manageable, and then I use the thickness planer to skip plane them because I don't have a jointer, which essentially I'm just doing light passes. And since I don't have a jointer, I took it to the table saw next, taking light passes on each side to square them up. Then I just picked a random width and cut them at the table saw. Since the pattern that I'm using is going to be a random one, then the thickness of them doesn't really matter. Before doing the first glue up, I arranged everything into a pattern that I liked and then glued everything together. This first glue up would have gone a lot smoother if I had milled each of these boards to the same thickness. I used an old chisel to scrape off all the glue squeeze out, and then I ran it through the thickness planer again. Then after getting everything flat, I brought it back to the table saw using a table saw sled to cut it in half, and then I cut strips a little bit wider than the cutting board was going to be thick, making sure to rotate every cut so if the table saw blade was slightly out of square, it wouldn't cause a compounding error, making the entire thing bow. Then I alternated each piece, glued everything up, and took care to make sure everything was aligned whenever I was clamping it all up. After everything was dry, I ran it through the thickness planer again, making very small passes to make sure that there wasn't too much blowout. But as you can see, I still had some, so I just cleaned it up at the table saw. Then using a cove bit at the router table, I cut the handholds on both sides in multiple passes. Then I switched to a chamfer bit and chamfered all the edges of the cutting board in multiple passes, raising the bit slightly with each pass. Then I spent several hours sanding using the orbital sander, working my way up through grits. I should have spent even more time because I wasn't able to get all the imperfections from the thickness planer blade out. Then I wiped everything down using a damp cloth. And finally, I applied multiple coats of butcher block oil, which is essentially just mineral oil, wiping away the excess after allowing it to soak. And that's it. Turned out really cool. It's more time consuming than it is difficult, but I had a lot of fun doing it. If I were to make another one, I'd choose a little bit more contrasting woods. These two both ended up being pretty dark together, but it still looks really cool and I really like it. So let me know what you think. I've got a couple other videos for you to check out if you're interested, and if you want, like and subscribe and do other YouTube stuff. Thanks for watching.